a final yes or no question to each of the panellists, and this is, if you're elected, will you commit to addressing a citizens' forum like this one year after your election, to once again discuss the issues under discussion tonight? Yes? Yes? Yes, okay. Will you also then commit to holding quarterly meetings with the environment groups who organise this, the environment groups in the electorate, to discuss climate change and energy issues as they arise? Quarterly meetings with environment groups. Only quarterly, yeah?
I think I've got one next week scheduled with the Conservation Foundation.
So is that a yes, Josh?
Sure.
Yep. Okay, all right, that's all signed up. Now I'm going to give you each 2 minutes to make a final statement. Who did we begin with before we began? Let's begin with you, Kate, because you went last before.
I'd like to thank each and every person in this room for giving up their time, their Wednesday evening, away from their families in order to attend this event. And I'd like to thank all the speakers and the organisers for their efforts in contributing to this democratic discussion. Aren't we fortunate to have this opportunity in our country? As I said at the beginning, I'm here because I'm a local and I care deeply about this community. That is my track record in this community over many years. I came here tonight to listen, yes, and to learn. And I believe each and every one of us has the power to make a positive difference to the health of our local community. The choices that we make as consumers, as I mentioned before, to the contribution we make towards caring for our community and each other. A grassroots approach can make an enormous impact, as extraordinary Australians like the late Ian Kiernan have taught us. And the government, as I've said, has a responsibility to protect jobs, to ensure people can afford electricity and to lead our country into a renewable future. We haven't agreed on many things tonight, I accept that. But we're certainly all in agreement there's a lot more that needs to be done. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Well, it really has been quite an extraordinary evening, and well done to all of you for being a part of it. Apathy is certainly not a thing in Australian politics, and certainly not a thing here in Macnamara. This election is bigger than me. This election is bigger than my opponents. This election is about the direction of our country. And I am proud to stand for a progressive Labor government. I'm proud to stand for a set of policies that will take action on climate, that will bring down our emissions. And we can talk about targets for a long, long time, but we will only be stuck in a worse place if we don't get going, if we don't start acting to bring down pollution. We need to do something. We need to start acting. And the way to bring that on is a Labor government, a progressive Labor government that absolutely accept that the science is real and we can do better and we must do better, and we must start with bringing down our emissions, reducing pollution and creating a renewables boom in this country. It is the right thing to do, and I thank you all very much for being here tonight.
Here in St Kilda tonight, you sit in the Greens' most marginal seat in the country. With 477 votes, we can re-establish a price on carbon that works and drives the change we need to arrest climate change and protect the next generation. If you're concerned about kicking out the Liberal Party, so are we. Vote 1 Green, vote 2 Labor if you are committed as we are to ensuring a safe climate future for the next generation. The scientists have spoken. The leaders of low-lying Pacific nations have spoken. Our students have spoken. Now is the time for action. No weasel words, no equivocation, action. Only a vote for the Greens will stop the Adani coal mine, will end coal, and will see us justly transition to 100% renewable energy. In the wise words of Greta Thunberg, our climate activist from Sweden, I want you to act as though we're in a crisis. I want you to act as though our house is on fire, because it is. At the start of the night you said you're voting for climate. Well, the climate clock is ticking, so let's get on with it. Thank you. Very appropriately, to conclude, we're going to hear from 2 more voters of the future.
I think one of them will be voting at this federal election and the other unfortunately won't be 18 in time, but I'd like to invite Sabrina Phillips and Annalise Smith, Year 12 students at Elwood College, to the stage. Sabrina is one of the two college captains, and both she and Elise are passionate about climate change and took part in the recent school strike.
Today we come to you as two students, but we are speaking for the hundreds and thousands of students across the globe who feel they have to take climate action into their own hands. Although it has been reassuring to take part in this discussion and see our passion reflected in some of the candidates and their policies, such as Steph's amazing commitment to climate action and stopping Adani, she acknowledges the undeniable impacts of climate change and how it demands immediate attention. However, it has been extremely disheartening to see any attempts made over the past few years to address our climate crisis being dismissed with childish fear-mongering and cheap publicity stunts. The focus of our Parliament has been shifted from actual progress to petty schoolyard drama, and this is not the behaviour of leaders that we can look up to. When our Prime Minister preferred to bring a lump of coal into Parliament rather than acknowledging the scientific facts, it became clear to our nation's students that our government desperately needs to grow up. After all, the front bench is for policy making. ScoMo, not your show and tell.
Scott Morrison told us that coal was not something to be scared of. However, we have reason to be scared. It's been our hottest summer on record. We've seen extreme bushfires, unprecedented flooding, and the mass death of native fish in the Murray-Darling River. These are only a few reasons why it is so painful for us to watch our leaders as they continue to invest in the outdated fossil fuels industry. We are deeply saddened every time we see those in charge of our country's well-being putting short-term financial gain over the welfare of our environment and the generations to come. Our Prime Minister has heard the voices of our young Australians marching through the streets of our cities and towns, and he has still neglected to listen. So now we turn to you. As representatives for Macnamara, we ask you to use your positions to campaign your parties into treating climate change with the urgency that it demands. As someone who will be voting for the first time in the upcoming federal election, I represent your new target audience and a generation of voters who will approach the ballot with climate action at the forefront of our minds. Now is the time to ask yourselves if your party's policies reflect this, and if not, now is the time to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina and Annalise, and thank you to all our speakers tonight. I particularly want to thank the candidates for turning up and answering your tough questions. And I'm going to hand back over now to Pam O'Neill, the convener of tonight's event, to say a few closing words.
Thanks, Peter. I'll be quick. Okay, what a fantastic night. Thank you all very much for coming and for staying all this time. And thank you especially to the candidates and the speakers, and especially to the student speakers. And to Peter, who did a fantastic job in moderating. I'd just like to tell you that none of these people here were paid to do this evening's work. None of the speakers, the moderator, the candidates, so that's even more special. And so we have a little gesture here for each of them, which Rhonda is now going to give to you. So thank you for that. Now, if you still have questions not answered tonight, do contact the candidates during the election campaign. I'm sure they'll be happy to elaborate further. Also, there's going to be another Macnamara Candidates Forum where the three candidates will speak on other issues than climate change, which is going to be organised by Serge and others, and it's going to be held at Mimo in St Kilda on the 30th of April, and I think you have a brochure on your stand. Can I remind you about the stalls at the back of the hall, which is from the environmental organisations, where you can sign up for activities or to volunteer or just to find out what they all do. And also the donation buckets are still being around, and you can pay by card at the back with April up there. So again, thank you very much for coming. It's been fantastic. And especially I would like to thank all the volunteers and the volunteering organising group, and to our filmmaker. Thank you. There she is. And to our filmmaker, our famous esteemed filmmaker Nicole Maher, who's also volunteered her time with her crew to do it. So thanks again. Bye-bye.